We're super excited to be partnering with Ozobot on this. We immediately saw a synergy between our tools when we first met and started talking with each other, and we thought it would be great to put on this webinar and bring you sort of the combined power of what we were doing for teachers, which is super exciting. So I've been at Bakpax for about a year, and I absolutely love it. My background is actually marketing in tech and telecom and also in travel. I was formerly the CMO of kayak.com. And then before that worked agency side on a variety of different tech and telecom accounts. But we're super excited to be here, and we're excited to show you what we can do together.
As well. From there, Melissa's going to give a walkthrough of our new Learn Anywhere lesson series. That's designed to get your students engaged hands-on wherever they're learning. And then from there, Stephanie is going to introduce Bakpax and walk us through how their AI can save you tons of time so you can focus on your students and their needs instead. From there, we'll open it up for questions. We definitely want to give you guys plenty of time for that. We'll cover our big Ozobot and Bakpax giveaway and how you each can get 10 entries for it, and then we'll send everyone on their way. So diving into the context of this webinar and why we had this webinar, Stephanie touched on this a little bit, but these are some of the things that have brought Ozobot and Bakpax together as thought partners. In about mid-March, we transitioned to remote work at the same time that a lot of you guys were shutting down schools and adapting to the new reality as well. And so we took some time to really poll our community and try to understand your top challenges with remote and hybrid learning. The answers to that were overwhelmingly consistent, and I don't believe they've changed significantly, although we have some new insights from the poll today. But equity was a big concern, how to ensure access to the same quality education when even a stable Wi-Fi connection isn't a guarantee. Engagement, which of course is impacted by and related to equity. Getting your students, like you guys said, present and to complete their assignments is a huge challenge. And then the third one here is screen fatigue. So this is one that we've started to hear more and more about as the year goes on. With, I think, students and teachers alike getting a little burned out on all the screen time that comes with remote learning. When we dug into these challenges a little bit deeper, we actually asked the community what tools would be the most valuable to you in remote learning tools, and hands-on lessons topped that list. So in just a few minutes, Melissa's going to show you how we answered that request very literally with a glimpse at our hands-on lessons that are flexible for remote and in-person instruction. But first, I'm going to cover really quickly our 2 ways to code. So we at Ozobot, we're known, of course, for our 1-inch robot, Ozobot Evo, that you see pictured here, but also for our 2 ways to code. And together, those make it easy to teach coding in STEAM and integrate them into all subjects. Our 2 ways to code are on the left, to screen free with our patented color codes, and then on the right, on screens with our Ozoblockly editor. So I am actually going to change up my camera angle here. 1 second. And I'm going to ask everyone in the audience to try out our 2 ways to code with me as students. Which means I need to turn off my virtual background. There. So now you guys should be able to see not only the screen I'm sharing, but also an overhead view of my desk. Does everyone see that okay? Yes, Melissa, maybe you can.
Yes, yeah, we can see it. Sorry, I was trying to mute myself there.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so we're going to start with a quick color code assignment. And color codes allow students to start coding completely screen-free just by drawing lines and short sequences of color. They build creative confidence while at the same time teaching basic coding concepts like cause and effect and even debugging. And they're also a great way to engage students who may not otherwise think that coding and STEM are for them, or who maybe haven't had access to those in the past. So for this assignment, our goal is to code Evo right here from the start to one of these STEAM subjects. So Stephanie, do you want to pick a STEAM subject for me between science, tech, engineering, art, and math?
Oh, let's do some math.
Great, okay. So the way this works, there's an entire language of color codes, but we're just using 3 direction color codes for this assignment. Whoops, sorry about that. And the way direction color codes work is they tell Evo what to do at an intersection. So without a code, the robot's going to make a random choice at intersections. But you can kind of see that to get to math, I want to use the go straight code at the first intersection and then again at the second intersection. I'm going to fill that in really quickly. We always get the question whether these are magic markers. It's just regular ink. You can use Crayola as well. They just have a nice chisel tip for drawing your codes. And Evo is going to use optical sensors and a color sensor to actually follow these lines and read my codes. And it's been pre-programmed to respond to all the color codes. So I have filled in my 2 go straight codes. I'll just turn Evo on. And I've already calibrated, so we'll test them out. There we go. We did it, made it to math. Thank you, Stephanie. Color codes, of course, are just our first of 2 ways to code though. So next we're gonna do a really similar activity, this time using Ozobot. So Ozobot is that device agnostic programming editor that we have. I'll pull that up on my shared screen here so you can see it. It is built around Google's Blockly, but what we did to make it our own was actually add discrete skill levels. So here I'm at the pre-reader level and I've got all these visual icons. These are great for students who can't quite read yet. But at each level we introduce more blocks and more programming principles, all the way up to master, where we introduce lists and arrays, kinds of things you're going to find in high school computer science classes. But we're going to keep it simple again for this activity. And our goal, once again, is to code Evo from the start to one of those STEAM subjects. This program I've got right here is telling Evo to follow the line, move forward a certain distance, turn left, move forward, turn right, and move forward again. So it's sending Evo to engineering. It's this middle block right here, sending the bot up the page. So I'm going to actually edit my program here. And I'm going to send us, instead of engineering, I'll go 90 millimeters up the page to art. Or not art, sorry, technology. So I've edited my program. I'm going to connect to my Evo next. And I'm just using Bluetooth here to pair. We'll get Evo ready at the start and hit run program. Yay, we did it again. Okay, so you guys have just, as students, tried out the 2 ways to code, so congratulations. These 2 ways to code have really driven our adoption in education and lend Ozobot our flexibility. So you can kind of see how between color codes for younger students and then those skill levels within Ozobot, we're able to span all grade levels from K to 12. But this flexibility actually expands even further beyond grade levels to subjects as well. So something that surprised even us was that 74% of our users are actually teaching core subjects with Ozobot, things like math, ELA, and science. And they're just using Ozobot to integrate coding and computer science along the way. And then finally, our flexibility extends to all learning styles. So teachers with students with special needs or behavioral challenges have success with Ozobot. And in particular, we're highlighting here a study that looked at Ozobot and autism spectrum disorders. But for now, we're going to shift roles from student to teacher, and Melissa's going to give us a teacher's eye view of our Learn Anywhere lessons.
Yes, thank you. So let's see. With Ozobot, we have prioritized making tools that are useful for teachers. We know that teachers, depending on their location, depending on their circumstance and their state, everyone's in a different situation, whether it's face-to-face, remote, hybrid, even within the same school, context could be completely different from one classroom to another. So we were incredibly intentional about creating lessons that would fit anybody under any circumstances. So right now, as a team, we are developing 2nd through 5th grade lessons, and we recommend 1 lesson per week. And I have a couple of examples that I'll be sharing with you, but each of these activities are about 45 minutes long, and they are standards aligned. So each lesson is aligned with at least 1 ISTE standard, 1 CSTA standard, and 1 content standard, whether that's Common Core Math, Common Core English, or NGSS. And every single lesson includes a whole lesson package. And we can move on to the next slide, Adrian. Thank you. We were incredibly intentional, knowing that teachers might be tasked with teaching computer science without having any training, without having any pedagogical content knowledge. We wanted to make sure that every teacher would be successful so that every student had access and opportunity to engage with STEAM and computer science in a meaningful way. So that meant that in our lesson plans, we have it all for you. We have a synchronous lesson plan. If you are a teacher that's confident in teaching computer science and you love to code, we have a synchronous lesson plan that looks just like something out of a textbook for you. For those teachers that may be a little bit more nervous about teaching computer science, maybe you get handed a kit and you don't really know what to do with it, and you don't know where to start, we have an instructional video. This video guides students through every single step of a lesson, and while it is student facing, we've created it so that you can also use it as an instructional a tool for guide your instruction and to guide your lesson. Each lesson has a student activity guide. So for any students that need access visually, you can print their activity guide for them. All of that content is covered in the video. So there's no need to print it, but it's there for you if you had special circumstances where students could benefit from that. All of the sheets that are required for the lessons are also included, along with any answer keys or potential solutions. And so I think we can dive into some of our lessons. A Learn Anywhere lesson, actually I can speak to some of those elements in the previous slide. Everything, again, we have the lesson plan, we have the instructional video where we go through step by step. These videos are also chaptered, so students can actually self-pace and self-guide themselves, or we have the full-length video if you want to send that to your students. It's up to you, whatever works best for your students. We have both versions for you to utilize in the best way that you think is that will work for your students in delivery. And you can see some examples of some activity sheets and sample answer keys and solutions there. The first lesson I'm going to show today is it's number randomizer. So if you're a 5th grade teacher, you know that place value is one of the standards that you have to meet, and students need to write numbers in standard form, word form, and expanded form. And with this lesson, it's actually really fun. Students actually use their markers to add in some behavioral color codes to increase engagement and to make it fun. And what ends up happening is when the bot meets these intersections, it's actually completely random. We do have color codes where you can code the bot to turn right or left, but in this lesson, we want to harness the power of that randomness for students to come across random digits to create their place value numbers. And so what they do is they place the bot on start, and then the bot will travel randomly to one of the digits, and the students will record the digit, and they'll repeat that process 5 more times so that they have a number to the thousands. And then they write that in standard form, word form, and expanded form. And on the next slide, we have a clip for you just to give you an idea of how explicit we are in our instruction, and how we've done all the heavy lifting for you as a teacher in these videos. You can go ahead and play that clip, Adrian.
Ozobot is ready to make a 6-digit number. Are you? We'll place our bot on start. Then we'll watch as it follows the pathway until it gets to a digit. Once it reaches a digit, we will write this digit in the hundreds place under standard form. My bot made it to the number 1. In the first place here, I will write 1. Then we'll repeat this 5 times to program Ozobot to move from start to complete my decimal number. My second number is 0. My third number is 9. Since it's truly random, your bot might choose the same number multiple times. How many digits or places will your number have when you are done?
So you can see all of our videos, we do them in bite-sized pieces so that students can follow along, and it's digestible for them. We're really intentional about making these fun and engaging. So all of our videos are about 10 minutes long so that students can follow along and meet all of the objectives of the lesson without feeling like they have to sit through a 45-minute video to complete the lesson and follow along. The next lesson we have is the second grade ELA lesson, all about prefixes. And the way that this lesson works is that you can see at the top, we have prefixes, and at the bottom, we have root words. And what the students do is they color in these color codes that actually tells the bot to line jump, which means it's gonna travel across the white space in the middle of the page and go down to the bottom and randomly choose a root word. So again, we're using that randomization feature of the bot to make things fun and super engaging and somewhat unpredictable for students. So their task here is to code their bot, and then the bot chooses a prefix and a root word, not root beer, root word, and then students determine whether it's a real word or not a real word. And then if it's not a real word, they do form a new word. They can create a new word with a prefix that makes sense. And on the next slide, we have a clip of that, just so you can see what the instruction feels like.
Let's place Ozobot on start on the prefix chooser, and it will randomly turn down one of the prefix rows. My Ozobot chose the prefix pre. The Ozobot jumped across the empty space because of the line switch code and headed over to the root word chooser. My Ozobot chose the root word able. On my prefix activity sheet, I will write pre plus able. When I put these two words together, I get the word pre-able. I'll write that on the next line after the equal sign.
So in the next chapter, we actually go through, determine if it's a real word or not. we ask students to go through and follow those directions, but then we also walk them through the rest of the lesson. So I don't want anyone to think that we just leave them hanging there, but we do cover whether it's a real word or not a real word. And all of these lessons are in our lesson library, so you're more than welcome to go in there and check out the full-length videos to see if they would work for you. And in the next lesson, just to highlight, if you all are looking for a Thanksgiving activity coming up next week, we have a really, really wonderful gratitude party activity where students identify things that they're grateful for. They make decorations for a gratitude party there. Ozobot is attending and hosting, and add color codes. And it's a really, really great way to get a discussion going about what you're grateful for, especially in this moment, especially when things can be really, really tough for teachers and students at home. So it's a really, really nice focus for students to be able to share that out. And I did include a clip in the slide deck, but we'll be posting this, and this is something you can come back and revisit. And I believe this is the full-length video, so that actually this is a clip, but you're welcome to come back and visit this later after it's posted online. So with this, we not only wanted to take the heavy lifting off of teachers, we really wanted to focus on accessibility for students as well. We know that every student learns differently. We know every student has different needs. So we wanted to ensure that every single lesson was accessible for any student that would have the opportunity to engage with Ozobots and these Learn Anywhere lessons. Our platform, the Color Codes, is a screen-free coding opportunity. So while we have the instructional videos, we do give students that hands-on, screen-free, manipulative type of experience without having to just stare at a screen the whole time. We have instructional videos and student activity guides, and I covered that. Those don't have to be printed, but they're available if students need them. Each video is chaptered. You can see here on the right-hand side, this is what student view looks like. If you are a Google Classroom user, your students have access to our Ozobot Classroom student view, and our engineering team is actually working on building out other LMS collaboration systems. So this is something that will be coming soon with other LMSs as well. But you can see over on the right, students can self-pace and self-guide by pausing, going back, replaying, and really just going at their own pace, being able to determine their own learning for themselves. We have auditory and visual guidance through the video, but also you can see there's a little eye next to each of these chapters on the right, and those actually pop up the exact text directions that we are covering in the video. So for any students that have auditory issues, they can access the content visually for that below. We want to address that tech gap. So we know that core subjects and STEAM skills don't need to be independent. They don't need to live in independent isolation. They can be meshed together, and we really want to make that meaningful with Ozobot and our Learn Anywhere lessons. And these lessons can be used for any grade, any skill level. Ozobot has everything from pre-reader, which is symbol-based, through a master level, which our engineers use regularly to code things. So there's a wide range of abilities that we support. We also support color vision deficiency. So if you have any students that cannot have colorblind issues or aren't able to see color clearly, we have resources to support them to make sure that they can access all of these lessons as well. And I believe up next is Stephanie. And in the chat, I would love to know just if these instructional videos are something that you could see your students engaging with and having fun with and enjoying at home if they're remote or even in a hybrid or face-to-face setting, if this is a useful tool that you would utilize. But with that, I'll pass it over to Stephanie.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much. So I'm going to give you a brief intro into what Bakpax is, and then Adrienne and I are actually going to demo it. Adrienne is going to use her Ozobot to actually fill out a worksheet, and we're going to submit it on Bakpax and watch the auto-grader work, and then I'm going to give you a really quick view of what the teacher sees on their side. So what is Bakpax? So at its core, it's image processing and AI that reads handwriting and grades short answer questions in seconds. And you know, there's so many great things about this tool. One of the interesting things that came up in the poll at the beginning was about getting students to do their work. And one of the benefits of the auto-grader being instant or providing instant feedback to students is that it keeps them engaged in the moment when a subject is still top of mind. So they've just completed their homework or they've just completed a quiz and they submit it to Bakpax and they get their grade instantly. And so for them, they see what concepts they actually learned and what concepts they need to do more work on. And we find that that really keeps the students engaged in submitting more work and those kinds of things. So that works out really, really well. The other side of it is that teachers get deeper insights into how the students are performing because you get to see over time the buildup of all of that data on Bakpax about what students got right, what they perhaps need more help with in terms of the concepts that they're learning. And we'll show you what the grade view looks like when we actually look at the worksheet that Adrienne is going to submit. that is a good benefit as well. So Adrian, if you want to go to the next slide. One of the things that Melissa talked about and that you all keyed into at the beginning in the polls was also access. And that's actually an issue that, or a challenge that's very important to us as well. And so one of the key things about backpacks is that it really eliminates the need to have any particular kind of tech in order to engage with it. So if you're in a situation where you're teaching and you're either mailing packets of work to students or having them drive through the pickup circle and pick up packets of work, it can definitely be done on paper. The students can submit that work by taking a picture on a telephone, or they can bring it back to you and you can upload it for them. Either way works, but you can also submit directly online on any device. You can use a phone, you can use a tablet, you can use a computer. If you're doing it on a phone, you don't even need Wi-Fi. You can use cellular, the data signal, and submit that way. It doesn't have to be your device. It can be a picture that you take on mom or dad's phone. And so it's really flexible and it works with whatever tech you have access to, or no tech at all. It can just be a piece of paper and a pencil. And what we're hearing from teachers is that they're loving that because it allows them to treat the kids that are in person and the kids that are remote the same. They do the same work. They're operating off of the same lesson plan because there's so many different ways that they can engage with the materials. And so that is super important to us as well. And then on the content side, there are a variety of different ways that you can access content or create content on backpacks. So we have an importer tool. I'll go into that a little bit more in a couple of slides, but we also have an extensive free content library. So there are entire textbooks of content in there. There are worksheets that we've created, original Bakpax worksheets, and we also have teacher-generated content. So teachers who are using the platform can decide that they want to share worksheets to the library, and those get reviewed by us, and then they get published in the library. And so other teachers can access anything that they've put up there as well, which is a great benefit. So if we can go on to the next slide. So the auto grading, this just gives you a couple of different ways that the auto grader works. So as I said, students could complete a worksheet and just take a picture of it. That's the image that's on the left there. The image that's in the middle is somebody completing their work. This is actually reviewing the submission that they've put in, but the online environment looks very similar to this. They can actually answer their questions online. And when you answer the questions online, whether it's on a phone or a computer, you can actually hand draw using your finger on a touch screen. You can use a traditional keyboard. We have our own math keyboard that we developed that's very, very user-friendly. So there's lots of different ways that students can submit work. You can actually take a picture of anything. So if you're working with a really gnarly quadratic equation and you don't want to type it in on the math keyboard, you'd rather just write it out on a scratch piece of paper or a Post-it note. For any individual question, you can take a picture of just any random piece of paper or napkin or whatever it is that you decided to write it on, and the AI will read it off of whatever you wrote, and that will be the answer. So whether it's full worksheet submission, whether it's doing it mostly online but taking a picture of some of the answers, any combination of those things works. And then the image on the far right is just the way that the student will see how they did. And so one of the things that that image on the right shows is that there are also questions that a teacher can designate as manual grade. So teachers love this feature. So where the AI shines is with short answer questions. It does not auto grade essays or multi-paragraph answers. And so you still have the flexibility of creating worksheets that have a mix of types of questions. And some teachers like to throw in a manual grade question just to make sure that they're seeing a little bit more of the students' work. But you're going to get all of the answers to the questions that can be auto-graded. You're going to see which ones are correct, which ones are incorrect, and which ones are manually graded. And then as soon as the manual grade questions have been done by the teacher, that score will be immediately updated and you'll have that reflected for you as well. And then on the next slide, the AI actually works in two directions. So it does a great job of auto-grading student work and giving them instant feedback, but it also helps teachers digitize their own content. So if you have a specific set of worksheets that you want to use on Bakpax, we have an importer tool that actually leverages the AI. All you need to do is upload an image, and you can just drag and drop around questions and answers, and it turns it into a digital worksheet that you can edit, that you can share with others. You could use part of it for one lesson, another part for another lesson. And so there's a lot of flexibility there in terms of what the AI can do on the digitizing the content side, and then also on the auto grading side. So that's a super brief overview. We actually also do full webinars for onboarding that show you all the ins and outs of how you set up your classrooms, roster students, create work, and then also the auto grading part of it. So if anybody is interested in that, we'll be sure to drop links for those webinars to everyone as well. But that just gives you a really brief overview of the tool.
Great. And then speaking of how easy it is to create content and create those worksheets, so we actually adapted some of our Learn Anywhere lesson content and put it into the Bakpax library. So I guess we were inspired by you guys in the audience, because we know that you guys are really willing to dive in and try new things. So we're trying that today. You can imagine that I am a student and Stephanie is my teacher. And so you guys should be able to see my desk again, where I've got a quick assignment with Ozobot and Bakpax here. This is actually a 3rd grade math assignment, rounding fun, where basically I'm given number lines, and on each number line, I've been prompted to identify the middle value in the boxes down here. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. And then on the next page of this worksheet, I'm actually going to use a color code to send my Ozobot in the right direction towards the right half, or the correct half of this number line. So my number that I'm going for is 76. Between 70 and 80, I've already identified on my first worksheet that 75 is the middle value there. So for 76, I know that I actually want my Ozobot to go right towards 80. And I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. And then I'll fill in my color code as well. Which is right is blue, red, green. And the color code order, by the way, depends on the direction of the Ozobot. So since I'm sending my Ozobot that way, that's why I'm doing what looks like a backwards color code to you guys. And just so you know, there's a couple more of those similar activities, but I've already filled those out. I'm going to test out my code really quick, and then I'm going to get ready to submit my work. Yay. Okay, so like Stephanie mentioned, and this is important when we're talking about access and equity, I as a student can actually access Bakpax right here on my phone. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. So I'm going to take a picture of this activity sheet I just completed.
Adrian, would you actually mind turning off the screen share so that everyone can see your camera view biggest?
Oh yes, sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, now you guys should see that bigger. Is that correct? Great. Okay, so I've got Bakpax here on my phone. I'm going to go to, actually first I'm going to take a picture of this. Great. Now we'll go to Bakpax. Go to my assigned work in this activity. Oops. Gotta log in, sorry. Great, and now I'm ready to upload completed work. And Stephanie, I think I can upload my sheets in any order. Is that correct?
Yeah, the codes will put them in the right order. in terms of how the image processing works. And you'll have seen when Adrienne was looking at that screen to start the submission, she had the choice of uploading a photo of her completed work or completing the entire thing online. And so if you're completing it online, it would just, each question would appear one after the other on the screen. But what she did right now is she took a picture, and what's happening in the background is that that image is being processed and digitized, and it's being sorted based on those codes in the corner, in the corners of the worksheet. So if you're submitting a worksheet using an image, you have to make sure you get the whole worksheet. But if you're submitting online, you can take that image of any individual answer as part of that process. So there's multiple different ways to do it, or you can just do it using the traditional keyboard or the math keyboard if that's what you need. And so what it will do once it's processed the image, so it's telling Adrienne that it's done its job, and now she gets the opportunity before it assigns a grade, she'll be able to review each answer. So it's basically taken each of the answer boxes and converted it into a digital editable asset. And so if the student sees as they're reviewing each of the questions before it's submitted that they want to change something, or that something didn't work quite the way that they, it didn't, that, oh yeah, I didn't think of something, I didn't add something that I needed to add, they can actually change it before they hit the submit button. And then once she gets to the end and hits submit, you'll see she's almost there, and now you'll get the grade. So that's the AI doing its work. And there are a couple of image-based answers there, so those are manually graded, which is why the green bar doesn't go all the way across right now. And so what I'll do when we switch over to me is I'll show you from the teacher's perspective what that looks like. But you basically get a summation of everything that you've submitted, what you got correct, what you got incorrect, and what the teacher will have a look at and then provide input on as well. And that happens in seconds. So this wasn't canned. We didn't film this in advance. That was actually the auto grader doing its thing. Which is how instant the feedback is for the students who are doing the work, which is cool for them. And there's some fun little hidden gems. We didn't get the flying llama when we submitted the work on this one, but we've thrown in a few things that make the students happy in terms of gamification. So every once in a while you'll get a panda doing the floss, or you'll get a flying llama or things like that, which makes it fun for the students too.
Well, and speaking of things that make students happy, I have to point out the avatars are adorable, and I found one that looks just like my puppy that we adopted during COVID. So really appreciate that.
Yeah, there's lots of cats and dogs. Although amazingly, the #1 avatar is the avocado. Everybody digs the avocado. So who knew? But so I can quickly share my screen if we want to show what the teacher view looks like, if that's okay. I don't know if you need to unshare in order for me to share.
It should let you share.
Okay, cool.
Let me know if you have any.
Jump in then. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So when I enter into Bakpax as a teacher, I'll see my classroom set up. You can have as many classrooms as you want, as many students as you need to have. We were in the demo classroom doing this assignment, so Adrienne is right there. She's top of the list. Less names that start with A, they end up at the top of the list. And so if I go into the work that we've assigned, and the worksheet that we were working on was the rounding fun with Ozobot, this is the grade view. So I can see exactly who has submitted and who hasn't. So Adrienne just submitted, and there are a variety of other students who have. The dashes will indicate students who have not submitted yet. And so I'll immediately be able to see the correct responses, incorrect responses, and then these apples will indicate the ones that need to be manually graded, and I can easily go in and manually grade those so that I get a complete view. So that's as easy as it is for the teachers to see. And what you can do, so we actually also, Melissa mentioned this for Ozobot, the integration with Google Classroom. We also have an integration with Google Classroom. You can set up your classrooms by connecting to Google Classroom. You can roster your classrooms with your students from Google Classroom, and we're working on more integrations. But one of the things that we're doing in terms of grade view, because there are some grade book integrations on the product roadmap, but right now what we've done to make transferring grades really, really easy is you can just download a CSV of all the results from Bakpax and then upload it into whatever grade book platform you use. But that's as easy as it is to see how all your students did.
Wonderful. Okay, so I am going to pull up our slides again. Give me one moment. And I believe this brings us to our Q&A. We're right on schedule. So we'll jump into some questions and then address things like our giveaways and things and where to access some of this lesson content that we've shared today at the end, if that sounds good. I'm just pulling up the Q&A. So one of the questions in here, can they use the screenshot feature to submit work also? I believe that's a Bakpax question.
Yeah, so I can answer that one. So the screenshot feature, so if you're submitting an entire worksheet and you're taking a picture of an entire worksheet, you'll have to make sure that you capture the whole sheet with the codes. But that screenshot feature can be used if you're submitting online on any device, computer, tablet, phone, and you go through the submit your work online, you can take a picture of any individual answer. So you could actually end up submitting the entire thing online by taking a picture of every answer. You just sort of, if you're going to do the entire worksheet, you have to make sure you capture the whole thing, but you can take a picture of anything if you're submitting online. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Another question, is Bakpax priced by school license or per student?
Yeah, I can take that one too. So actually right now it's free. So we're offering it to teachers for free. We actually launched earlier this year, a couple of days before everybody went remote. And we had teacher-based subscriptions. So the original format of how we were doing things was it was a subscription by individual teacher. You could have as many students as you wanted to have. We went free because of COVID. And what we would like to be doing is we would like to have it be a district license moving forward. So we're actually, from a product roadmap perspective, working on some features specifically for the district's collaboration features, so school-wide or district-wide collaboration, different analytics and reporting. And so our aim is to keep it free for teachers as long as we possibly can.
Yay, surprise. Great. And then Susan asked, how about using the PDF feature on Notes on the iPhone to submit work?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
I can answer that one.
Okay.
Because I do that all the time, actually, when I'm submitting work and testing things out.
This is Jenny, by the way. Jenny's from Bakpax too.
Yes, hi, I'm Jenny. So for the PDF feature on your iPhone or your iPad or whatever, it works just fine in Bakpax. You'll just choose to upload a file instead of taking a picture. And you can also do that on your computer too. So if students like to just edit the PDF on their computer or on their phone or with the markup feature, they can do that and submit it just fine.
Yeah. And actually, similarly, the next question in the queue is about taking a photo with Chromebooks. So you can take a photo with Chromebooks. Some of the older Chromebooks, the cameras are a bit challenging. The photo quality isn't that great, but it actually does work. So it shouldn't impede anybody if they're on a Chromebook, even if it's an earlier model. It should be able to do it. And on the question of is Bakpax available in Canada, the answer is yes.
Yay. And then I don't think these made it into the Q&A, but there were some questions about additional LMS integrations. Those could be for both of us, I think. Specifically, we got a question about an integration with, is it Schoology or Schoology? I always say that the wrong way, but that is on our radar. And then the same with, we got a question about Canvas. And Canvas in particular is something we're hearing a lot of requests for. And we're trying to prioritize the integrations based on our community and what they're using. So we started with Google Classroom, but yes, Canvas is on the list, as well as Schoology. As promised, here are some links. So in addition to Bakpax being free right now, so you can go create your free account at bakpax.com. You can also learn more about Ozobots and request a demo or a quote. We wish we could give the robots away for free right now, but we're trying to get as close as we can. So if you go to ozobot.com, there's a form you can fill out there to get in touch with one of our account executives. They will help you and be a partner in terms of looking at pricing and also funding that we qualify for, including the CARES Act. And then the content that we've covered today is all free. So you can access the lessons that Melissa covered, those Learn Anywhere remote-friendly lessons in Ozobot Classroom. If you don't have an Ozobot Classroom account, that's no problem. You can sign up for free. You're just gonna go to classroom.ozobot.com. I'll log out really quickly just so you can see what that looks like, and you can create an account here. From there, you're then gonna have access to all of those lessons, and I also wanna show that, because I know we've got some Ozobot users in the audience. So I've just signed into Classroom and I'm going to the lesson library. This is a brand new filter for remote-friendly content. That's the content that Melissa covered that's got instructional videos. It's flexible for in-person and remote. So I'm just gonna apply that filter, and you'll see that there's a lot to choose from. And then also, so that lesson that we created, we did a short version for today's demo, but that Ozobot/Bakpax lesson that we created is available in the Bakpax Discover library in its full form. And if that's something you guys want more of, you want to be using the two technologies together, just let us know and we can put some more effort towards that. This is just an additional resource we wanted to share with you guys. If you want to dig deeper on supporting your students with special needs with Ozobot, we have a really great webinar that was held earlier this year with Frances Amado Dominguez. She's one of our certified educators, and she's super talented, just a great person to connect with. So in this webinar, which is on our YouTube channel, or you can get it from the slides when you get this sent around, you can dig deeper into that with Frances. And finally, for a PD certificate for everyone who's attended here, if you have any questions or comments about that, reach out to support@ozobot.com. And I think that brings us right to 5 o'clock. So thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate sharing your challenges with us. We hope again that we can help in a small but impactful way and make things just a little bit easier for you during this time.